Zoom voice. Okay. So we've done sort of like traditional introductions in the chat, which I'm sure many of you have done in other Zoom events. So we're now going to do something that's part of the techniques that I have been utilizing for almost 30 years called Theater of the Oppressed. And with Theater of the Oppressed, we investigate oppression using our sensory equipment and having experiences that we then critically reflect on. So over the course of the next hour, I will take you through a number of fun activities that are simultaneously fun and serious. So we're going to begin by having you introduce yourself by sharing your name, making an image with your body, like a sculpture or a selfie, a snapshot, and share in just a couple of words a gift that you bring to the work of community development. So you're going to say your name, you're going to stand up or sit down, and you're going to make a shape with your body that carries the feeling of your gift. I'm going to have Micaela start. So if everybody could go on off mute, so that you can be prepared to receive the invitation. So the way that it's going to work is Mika is going to start, and she's going to say her name. She's going to make a shape with her body and simultaneously share a gift that she brings to the work of community development. When she finishes, she is going to invite somebody else in the room to share their name, make an image, and share their gift. I'm going to be a real stickler about language here, because I've been in so many Zoom meetings where somebody does something, they say their name, hello, and then they say, I'm going to pass it. I'm really sensitive to the use of words. And for me, if I am inviting somebody to do something, then I remain accountable and responsible for being in relationship with that other person. If I just like pass it off, there's like a high probability that I'm going to start doing something else and not remain listening with my whole self to the person to whom I have invited to take the square. So, Micaela, would you begin, please?
Micaela. Radical transparency. And I would like to invite Joyce.
So we need, Joyce, would you do it? Share one more time and unmute. That's why if everybody could be unmute yourselves in advance, then we can just like, the invitations can roll. Thank you. Go for it again, Joyce. Thank you.
Compassion and shared experience. Joyce Smith. I invite Justin.
Justin, care. And I will invite Sylvia.
Sylvia, thoughtful leadership. I invite Gianna.
Gianna, listening, care.
And I'm Lisa Jo. Open heart, ever learning. So I thank you for stepping into our first little piece of play. James Baldwin once said, anytime you start living by habit or quotation, you begin to stop living. Anytime you start to live by habit or quotation, you begin to stop living. And I have sort of like lived by that that statement in the sense of constantly challenging myself to engage in new ways that deepen my understanding of both my role and those with whom I am collaborating. So we are going to now transition into a game that puts you into pairs. So Micaela, have you given people their numbers?
Not yet, right now. Let me do it. We can do it fast because there's 2, 4.
There's 4.
We can do, yeah, just 2
4.
pairs. So what if we just do how I'm seeing it in my screen? What if we do Justin and Sylvia and Joyce and Gianna?
Great. So if Justin and Sylvia, you could put a number 1 in front of your name, keep your name, but put a number 1. And Gianna and Joyce, put a number 2. So to rename it, you go to the 3 little dots. In mine, it's the right-hand screen of your Zoom square, and you click it, and then there's a whole list of possibilities, and there's one that's called rename. So mute, stop video, chat, pin video, spotlight video, etc., etc. Do y'all see that? Did we lose you, Joyce?
No, I'm trying to figure out how to do it.
Okay, great, cool.
It's actually super simple. So you see your square, your actual image in the Zoom. You click on the dots. There's 3
Gotcha.
dots in there, and then rename.
Gotcha.
So shortly, when Joyce comes back, I'm going to ask the number 1s to go back to those 3 little dots, and you're going to go to the square of your partner and click in the corner of their screen, and in that same drop-down box, there's something called pin video. And when I say go, you should each pin the video of your partner, but don't do it quite yet. But you could find it. So since you were able to rename yourself in that same Dropbox, it's like 1, 2, 3, 4 down. There's something called pin video. Does everybody see that? Great. So the beautiful thing about pin video, how many of you have used pin video? You've used it, Gianna? In what capacity?
Just for classes, I pin my professor so that their face doesn't disappear.
Ah, okay, great. So we're going to pin partners as opposed to just one person. And the way that this is going to work is, so Justin, you are partner A, and Sylvia, you are partner B of your group. Okay? Joyce, you are partner A, and Gianna, you are partner B. Got it? All right. So when I say pin video, you're going to pin your video, and partner A's, Justin and Sylvia, without using words, you are going to try to get your partner to do something that you would like them to do. You're going to find a way to communicate without words what you want your partner to do in terms of moving through the space. Partners B, you are going to try to figure out what it is that partner A is asking you to do. Okay? And the important thing is that you're not allowed to use words. Justin and Sylvia, do you understand your role? Yes? Gianna?
We're both in the same group. You said me and Sylvia
sorry.
were
Right. So Justin and Joyce, my bad. Justin and Joyce, you are partners A, and the others are partners B. So partners A, you both got what you're supposed to do. Without using words, you're going to find a way to communicate with your partner and try to use improvisation to get them to do something that you want them to do. Stand up, sit down, look to the right, wave their hands in the air. I don't know, pick up a glass of water. You have to figure out how to get your partner to do what you want them to do. All right? So if everybody could pin their videos, pin your partner. And when you pin your partner, you should no longer see me and Micaela. You should only see your partner. Give me a thumbs up if that worked. Joyce, were you able to find the pin video of your partner? So you're pinning Gianna.
I'm a little challenged.
That's okay. So it's totally okay. So go back to those 3 dots where you were able to renumber yourself.
I did. Okay.
And then in the Dropbox that goes down.
Yeah, I'm trying to get that. I'm having little computer issues. Okay, I have pinned video.
Great.
But you shouldn't be doing it on your own screen, but in your partner's screen.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Because
Gotcha.
your partner has pinned you.
Okay, I see. Go to her screen and pin.
Mhm.
Okay.
The setup, I love this part where it's like, how are we able to communicate? So like in my efforts to make the space more nimble, it also raises the challenges and requires a certain kind of support system so that everybody can get into the same playing space. So are you good now, Joyce? Okay, so I'm gonna ring the bells, and partners A, you are going to communicate without words what you want your partner to do in terms of moving through the space. So you keep going, partners A, keep thinking of different things that you want,
Uh-oh, okay.
you would like your partner to do in terms of moving through the space.
Should partner B actually do it?
If you are, if partner A communicates clearly,
Okay. Sorry.
try things out. There's no, it's totally the perfect question.
Okay.
So I'm gonna ring the bells again. Keep trying to get your partner to do something that you want moving in the space. Partner A's, keep trying and try harder. Think about using the whole space of your screen. So Justin, I want you to exert more energy than your partner. So now, Joyce, I would like you to exert less energy than your partner, but still trying to communicate that they need to do something. If you feel like your partner is not receiving what you have done, intensify it, make it bigger. Okay, and come to a moment of pause. There are two people in the waiting room. Let's see if we can bring them in. Hello?
I was gonna ask, have you asked questions?
Sylvia, hold on to your questions.
Okay.
Because there's actually another step, but I wanted to bring the two new people into the room. Liza and Karen, are we able to see you on video?
Hello.
Hello.
Sorry I'm joining so late.
That's okay. We started an activity and we're going to like move. We're going to put you into the flow. Liza, Liza left. Okay. Michaela, can you partner with Karen?
Absolutely.
Okay. So so the previous two, we're in the middle of a theater exercise, a theater game. Okay. And so we're going to bring you in. This is an experiential workshop, not a webinar.
Got it.
Okay. So let's see. Michaela, you be partner B. Or do you want to
Switch, just remind me of that.
the receiver?
Partner B receives partner A
Yes. You'll see that in a second.
offers. Mm-hmm.
So Karen, we're gonna make you an A, and Michaela is your partner.
Okay.
All right. Karen, do you know how to do pin video?
I don't think so.
Michaela, can you walk her through that?
Yeah. So when you look at my little screen where I'm popping up, there should be 3 little dots that are on the
Yep,
right
got
corner.
it. Okay.
So you're gonna pin video in my screen, basically.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, easy. You got it?
Yep, learn something new every day.
Great. I just pinned you too. Here we are.
Okay. So what's gonna happen now is I would like all of the partner A's to put your hand up in the middle of your screen. Okay, I want you to think about this as like your engine. And your partners, I want you to imagine that your whole body is connected to their hand with an invisible tether. So if I move my hand backwards, my partner in the screen would be moving forwards. If I move to the side, my partner would go to the side. If I moved up in the air, my partner would move with me. So you're moving in concert with your partner's hand. The task is, it's nonverbal. The challenge is that it's nonverbal. Your pinned partner is following your hand around the space in all of the configurations possible. Okay, so I'm going to ring the bell and your partners are going to follow.
Actually decide. Yeah.
Am I going up there? Okay.
Remember, it's nonverbal. You can bring your hand to a moment of pause, but keep on moving around the space.
That didn't make sense, Lisa Joy. What do you mean?
Meaning that some people are not moving their hand very much. So I'm saying you can have a moment of pause, but be sure to then move it again. People with your hands up, I would like you to use your body as much as you are seeing your partner's body move.
So we do the same
Go to
thing?
the right, you move your hand to the right, and your whole body goes with you. If you go up, your body goes up with your partner. If you go down, so you're exerting this equal amount of energy and space. Partner A's, just slowly close your hand. And now everybody noodle it out. Noodle out what you just did. Noodle it out, noodle it out. My first question back to you is, how did that feel? How did that feel to do that activity? Just notice for yourself how it felt. Like identify it for yourself. How did that feel? Okay, and now I want you, when I ring the bells, I want you to make an image in your body of how that experience felt. Sylvia, could you keep that? Can you hold on to that image a little longer? So would everybody go back to unpin your video so you can see everyone?
And the easiest way to do it is just click on gallery view.
Yep. Give me a thumbs up when everybody is back. Great, thank you. So I would like to invite one pair to share their image of how it felt. Which pair would like to share first? The ones, the twos, or the threes? And Karen and Mika, you're a three. Why don't we start with two? We'll just like mix it up. So number two is, would you each put your body into the shape that you made when I asked you, how did that experience feel? And go into your shape and then freeze as if it were a selfie, right? So you don't go back to just sitting in your chair. You hold it like you're captured in a selfie. Okay? And 3, 2, 1, image. So I release it. The second time I want you to repeat it. And this time I want you to add a word to how it felt. And you're gonna go at the same time. We're still working with the twos here, okay? So you're gonna do that same image, only you're gonna say whatever the word is that goes along with how you felt. You ready? Go.
Silly.
Puzzled.
What, you do your image again of how you felt? You had an image?
To me?
Yeah.
Yeah, a little puzzled.
Great, there you go. Like, hold your shoulders up again, right? Can you put your shoulder up? Yeah, there you go. Gianna, will you hold yours as well? Nice. Okay, so I'm going to ask Gianna to go back into your image, and I'm also going to ask Joyce to go back into your image. And when I ring the bell, I want you to transform your image into what you wanted from your partner. What did you want from your partner? So you're going to start in your silly, and Joyce, remind me of your first word.
I said puzzled.
Puzzled, right. So you're going to start with puzzled, and you're going to start with silly. I'm going to ring the bell, and you're going to transform from your first image into a second image of what it is that you wanted from your partner. What did you want from your partner? So Gianna, can you go back into your silly image? And transform number twos into what did you want from your partners? Make a new image. What did you want? What did you want from each other?
Fun, humor,
Guidance.
Guidance and fun and humor. Okay, so because the squares are the way that they are, I'm having difficulty seeing your images. So is it possible that you can raise your image up so that we can see all parts of the image? Great. So go back to your first image of silly and puzzled. Go back to your puzzled. Yep. And then transform into what you wanted from your partner. And say the word.
Guidance.
humor, humor.
And from the humor and the guidance, I want you to make one more image that intensifies really what you want. So like you're strengthening your image or just committing your whole body to what you want from your partner. 3, 2, 1. And what word goes with that?
Understanding.
Understanding. And Gianna, what is your new word?
I guess I kind of was just like reinforcing my last one, just because I wasn't able to do my part if I wasn't guided. So that's kind of just like emphasizing that, really.
Right, reinforcement. Great. Okay, noodle that out. What did the others of you hear and see in the imagery of what they felt and what they wanted? What did you hear Gianna feeling and wanting from their partner? Does anybody remember? If everybody could go then to unmute, you could just start right away. Go for it, Sylvia.
Wait, just what they said, guidance and humor, or
Yeah.
were we supposed to be? We're supposed to be repeating what they said, or you want us to?
So, like, what you felt from what they shared.
Oh.
The dependence. I'm sorry, Sylvia.
No, that's fine. I just took it for what they said, guidance and humor.
Karen.
Well, I mean, it was like a dependence, like this sort of like, yeah, needing, not necessarily like a chosen dependence, but right, they were dependent on their person, on the partner.
Mm-hmm. And how did chosen dependence feel?
I said it wasn't chosen dependent.
That it wasn't chosen
Right.
dependence.
It's like, they're just following the instructions.
That it wasn't chosen dependence.
Mm-hmm.
Were you going to say something, Joyce?
No, just listening.
Okay. The others of you, the other two pairs, did you experience chosen dependence and that it wasn't chosen?
I definitely started maybe even like doing more than my partner was giving me. Like I was maybe exaggerating my movements a little more. So because I felt like in doing that, I had a little bit more freedom. Like I was able to be a little bit more me just for a second, even though I was being guided in a certain way, there was still like we would say like sabor in Spanish, like a little touch of like flavor that gave me a sense of independence from that non-chosen dependence.
So you felt some resistance and you met that by making your movements doing more than your partner?
Mm-hmm. Like escaping it a little bit with like a little touch that I was giving.
So finding a way to escape and put a little bit more of you into the special sauce.
Yeah, it's resilience. That's what resilience is to me.
Yeah. Karen, what can you share how you felt?
No, I mean, well, I'd say the first thing I think we probably all felt is a little bit silly, but then, but I did feel this weird like responsibility to like, all right, like help you follow along and participate as much as you wanted to, but then also not to like, I don't know, it was a weird thing, like, what thinking about how, that leading somebody in that way is, I'm not comfortable having somebody be totally dependent. And so I appreciate that, right, that you felt like you were taking a little bit on your own, because that's kind of cool. So yeah, you're trying to sort of balance, actually, and it was interesting, I guess I'd say, because I was first thinking about like, all right, how trying to make it sort of comfortable or easy for the other person. And at some point, then you sort of switch to like, well, this works for me, so I'll just do this to what's comfortable for, for me.
I think I felt in some kind of self-imposed pressure to make sure that I can get the person Deanna to understand what I was doing. I wanted to be able to like really engage her. So I felt kind of, I don't want to say burden, but it was just a task that I just felt that I needed to follow through with to make sure I engaged her.
And so with that self-imposed purpose, what sensations and impulses arose inside you as you committed to getting your partner to understand?
I have to say, I felt a little uncomfortable because, well, I felt uncomfortable because partly because it felt silly, and I don't feel comfortable being silly in front of people I don't know. And then it was uncomfortable because I was not sure if I was understanding the directions correctly. I wasn't sure if I was supposed to be mirroring Justin. I wasn't sure if I was supposed to be mirroring Justin or if he was giving me directions on doing something. So it made me feel even more silly because I was just doing exactly what he was doing. I was like, I'm probably have this all wrong. So that's uncomfortable for me to be completely, wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, discomfort makes us uncomfortable, right? And what would it have felt like to not do it that way, Sylvia? Like, what do you think, what would it have felt like to not feel self-conscious, to not worry that you were following directions or not?
I don't know what would have helped because that's just the type of person I am. Well, probably would have helped for me to pause and get more clarity on the instructions. That probably would have helped. If I would have known if I was supposed to be mirroring, or if he was directing me to do something. And that wasn't his fault. It was just I didn't have a full understanding of the instructions once we got in. I was like, oh, wait, am I supposed to be just mirroring what he's doing? Or is he telling me in a different way to stand up? Yeah, so it was really interesting. And I want to apologize because I actually have to leave for a 1:00 meeting. It's like my second day back in the office, and I have to conduct a meeting at 1:00. So this has been really interesting. I wish I could maybe get the recording of the rest of the discussion. It's great. Thank you, Justin. I hope I wasn't too bad of a partner.
So, Sylvia,
You were great.
Sylvia, as you move into the rest of your workday, I invite you to think about a story of community engagement and how this activity is like a mirror
Okay.
of traditional community forms of community engagement.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
And
Thank you.
Sylvia,
So I want to invite Justin and Gianna to share what sensations and feelings did you have? Justin as A and Gianna as B.
Yeah, I felt yeah, like responsibility is the word. Like I felt responsible for whether Sylvia was comfortable or not. And so seeing, like it was very visible that she was not comfortable, and so like I felt some some responsibility for trying to fix that, and that was like almost like more important to me than getting her to do what I was trying to get her to do.
Mm-hmm. So you met that feeling of needing to be responsible and make her feel comfortable more so than doing the activity itself.
Yeah.
Do you think that she received it?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah. Was it different for you when I asked you to exert more energy and use your body as much as your partner was?
I don't think that really changed how I was feeling or like what my priorities were.
Mm-hmm. I have, of course, since you were all pinned, I get the gift of watching everybody. And when you exerted more energy and used the space more flexibly, I felt that she was moving more clearly with you than previously. That was just what I observed as a spectator of the activity. Gianna.
Yeah, I think it was a little uncomfortable for me in the beginning. I was like, am I supposed to be mimicking? Kind of similar to what we just talked about. But then after a while, I was like, I kind of don't like care if I look silly. So then I just, went along with it. So that's how I was feeling.
And how does that feel?
I just takes the pressure off of like doing it right. Because it doesn't, I don't know, if I was doing it wrong, there's no like, no one's going to yell at me. We're just, doing like, it's a game. So it kind of, the pressure just like melted away to like do it right after I just tried to like have fun with it. So.
Did any of the rest of you journey in the way that Gianna did, where you released yourself from trying to do something right and just remained present with your partner?
Yeah, it was it was uncomfortable in the beginning for me, but I kind of resorted to a side of me that I have a silly side to me. So I kind of let that come out. I was like, okay, I don't know what the heck I'm doing. I don't know if I'm doing it right. So I just went to my silly, safe place.
And
I like how you go with the flow.
Right. Your silly, safe space. How does that feel?
Comfortable.
Comfortable? What else?
I don't know. It's a way of engaging people. When when I'm funny, it's a way of me engaging people. And that was what I wanted to do.
Did you feel more relaxed inside your own feelings as you just allowed your safe, silly side to emerge and play?
I think so. It quieted my tension and being apprehensive about it. Yeah, it quieted it.
Yeah. I thank you for all of you, and I'm going to get to you, Karen, in 1 second. We rarely spend time addressing how we feel in our bodies. It's sort of like an overlooked place of activism where that gets cut off for the sake of urgency and getting things done and rigid adherence to time, without taking into consideration that we're working in relationship with people, and each person has a whole somatic life, a whole sensory complexity that is cut off when we're just trying to get answers, and even more rendered heightened by the fact that often the instructions are so unclear because the initiator wants the person's input, but isn't giving space for them to be their whole selves. So part of the work of using theater in relationship to understanding relationships as key to the project of decolonizing engagement is to have an opportunity to re-find ourselves in our bodies, to recognize what we are carrying forward. So I want to ask Karen, talk about how it felt for you. You had missed the first part of the activity, and so we just dropped you right in.
Right. Just how it felt? Or
however you would like to respond, like what sensations arose as you led Micaela?
yeah, I mean, I think I've already, named some of them, but right, you start feeling silly and uncomfortable or like self-conscious, and then kind of go through to like, I was trying to be sort of give guidance to make you comfortable and feel, just thoughtful in that way. And then it kind of verges back to like, well, this is going to go on for a little while. So like, oh, now I'm back to my comfort level. It was sort of this back and forth. And I did realize there was an interesting thing when you said for us to do it too. At first I felt more comfortable because I felt like I wasn't so much now like making you do something. It was like, okay, I'm in this too. But then I realized it was still easier for me because I knew what I was going to do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I wasn't having to like predict or follow in some way. So I thought, wait, we're still not like equal in this, because even though I'm doing it, I'm still making the decisions about which way I'm going. And, you know, I did get a couple good neck rolls out of it. So I thought that was just, yeah, I thought we both seemed like we could use those. So
Yeah. Easy.
But it was also interesting jumping in and having sort of no idea what the preceding conversation was about all of this. So, and that's in the back of my mind too, like hoping I'm, you know, playing along the right way.
There are no boundaries to how you're supposed to play. We make our own rules, and this sort of like rolls us back to that colonialism is embedded in everything. And even the notion of, am I doing something right or wrong in a simple theater game, roots back to, well, what is deemed right?
Yeah. And I'll say, because it was in the back of my mind what the topic of this session is, right? So I was thinking, okay, how is this relating to that? And the term benevolent dictator kind of came into my head. That I was trying to be like thoughtful about like how this is, you know, how I'm making you feel, but the dictator part of it was definitely a part of it. I was, you know, I was calling the shots, and that was a little uncomfortable.
Yeah, yeah. Benevolent dictator, right? And how does benevolent dictatorship show up in traditional mainstream community engagement?
I think a lot.
Yeah. How about everybody type into the chat? How would you describe what you have, what most people practice as community engagement? Like if we were to make a brainstorm, not of what you wish it would be, but how is it normally experienced? Micaela, would you read these, please?
Yeah, so we have some really good ones. Gianna is saying lack of actual engagement, more just informing people, quote unquote. Then we have Karen saying community meetings where the organizers tell the community what they're going to get and why it is best for them. Really good. And then Justin says there's one outcome that the developer wants. That's right. I like the word developer there too, because it involves the sense of improvement, or like I'm bettering you in a certain way, right? I'm like above, there's hierarchy involved in there. So I really like the word developer. And it's also related to gentrification and, you know, what we experience here in this land. And I don't know if Joyce, looks like Joyce left us for a second. She's muted.
So I'm going to ask the question again, because often it's good to, once you get your first thought out, to actually look at what you wrote and listen to what other people wrote and go a little deeper. So what is the role of community members in regular community engagement?
So Joyce is saying, listen, be informed. Karen is saying, getting the word out. Gianna says, ideally, they would have power to make decisions that affect them. Right,
You said ideally.
So the question was, as a reminder, what is the actual role? Like, what do you see happening as the role of community members in community engagement? Not the ideal one, but what is actually happening right now. Justin says they're typically viewed as an obstacle by those with formal power. I like the word choice there, formal too. And Karen also says help guide the project program. Mm-hmm. Joyce says to take action.
So in all that Micaela just shared aloud that you have written in the chat, I'm hearing about the usual process of citizen engagement has been for residents to be responders rather than deciders. Perhaps advisors rather than deciders, right? That there's this interest in interaction, but it's tokenistic. It's all about the institution providing the engagement and less about the residents and self-determination.
I also really like that Joyce said provide feedback, because that's a word that I often hear used. Like, I want to hear your feedback. What's your input on this, right? But that is only, like, that is creating a very specific dynamic in the conversation, a very structured way of thinking about those things.
Right.
Like the vehicle is weird already.
The vehicle is weird because the vehicle, there's like a predetermined, specific role for participation. Right?
Yeah, that's what Joyce is saying here too. It says most time decision actions have already taken place, right? It's already, the vehicle is already running in a certain way with a certain type of fuel, with certain wheels. It's already in motion, but then we're asked to provide feedback on how it's running.
Right. It's as if the focus is on this focus, urgency, and attention is on the space and not about the people who make actual spaces into places. Because a space, like there, I've often heard community developers say, if they build it, will they come? Has anybody ever heard that expression before? If they build it, will they? If we build it, will they come? Right? So that there's this, like, as you were saying, Micaela, this weird vehicle that is really for the developer's voice, for fear that that voice will be silenced or resisted, rather than creating opportunities for the residents to generate their own platform, to have autonomy outside pre-existing parameters for how they're supposed to act. Right? It's as if there's a fear on the part of developers with community engagement that somehow the residents are going to undo what their vision is. Everyone can and should be co-creators of their own communities. Do any of you have a story, a brief story about community engagement that challenges all that we have just said about what's the normal approach to community engagement? Gianna, you started saying ideally they would have power to make decisions that affect them. Have you participated in any experiences where the residents authentically had power to be the deciders?
I'm still in school. I feel like I'm not best equipped, like with my experience. I'm sure someone else would have something better to say than I would, but I appreciate the asking.
Thank you for sharing.
I
And you can also think about your role as a student. And when have you been in some student engagement where you had the power to create, generate, be supported financially to make the decisions that would change how things were? Where self-determination and process were focused over instant product, where relationships were the project. Joyce.
Yeah, I don't think it's that substantial, but the community, we're given options about development plans or maybe an investment in the neighborhood through a process called the RCO. And we recently, well, pre-pandemic, we did have an RCO meeting with a developer who wanted a variance change, and the community was against it. So we voted at that community meeting not to approve his variance. And so that was successful, but it really is a small part of the battle that we struggle with in communities when we're dealing with developers. Even small investors or speculators, because they basically think because they're coming in to clean up blight, that's good enough.
Right. Yeah. Joyce, can you share what neighborhood you're coming from?
East Park Side.
Yeah.
We're saturated with, I say kind of predatory speculators and investors. And I had a kind of an email battle about with a particular developer in our neighborhood. It's very prolific.
Mm.
And his arrogance about what the community wants. And a resident, and myself a resident of what he wants to do in our neighborhood is just, he just thinks that it's just, we shouldn't have a voice. We should be appreciative of whatever he does and and I tried to explain it from a community perspective and as a resident perspective, as a person that's experienced urban renewal and what happens to neighborhoods. He got very defensive. And so we can't go anywhere because he has his investment vision, and it has nothing to do with what's best for the community.
Karen, I saw you nodding your head.
Yeah, so I work for the city. So this is where we are this entity a lot. And in either help, not partnering with developers, but being on that end where developers sort of gets permission. Well, they can't get permission from the city without the RCO, but RCOs are put in this difficult position of like, you can give your input, they have to meet with you, but you only have like certain things when it's a variance of like your specific reason for objecting. That might not actually be your reason for objecting, but it's like, that's your only tool you have. So that, the RCO thing works, but it's not perfect, right? But it's something. But I think in the city, we're often in the role of, we're responding to what we've heard from the community about what is wanted, but then kind of come back to maybe do it. Like, okay, now the funding is here. It might be like we heard this from the community, and then, a year later, there's sort of funding identified, but then what we come back and give isn't exactly what the community wanted, or maybe they don't feel at that point that they're getting real say in it, because now it's sort of like, going on. And it's difficult. And I think, I think obviously some people do it well and some people don't. And you have to at least acknowledge and care about it in the first place, right? Because some developers will just come in and don't even care. So, but even when you care about it and want to get input, at a certain point to make a project happen, I mean, we all know this, like you can't actually get things done with a large group of people, right? It comes down to like a couple people driving a project, getting things done. And so I do think decisions get made throughout the process about, okay, we've heard everybody, now we're going to go back into this room and make some decisions. And that's where some mistrust happens. But I also don't know how a project moves forward without that. At some point, like one person or two, you know, has to take ownership, or a small group take ownership and make the project happen. I know we always try to look for decision points. I think somebody, maybe Joyce, it was you put that in your comment, like there are times where there's options we go, you know, that you go back to the community with, like, okay, this is happening, but you could pick, you know, this wall's getting painted, but you can pick if you want it red or blue, kind of thing. And I don't know if that feels, you know, almost welcome input. It depends, I guess, how much buy-in you have on the wall getting painted in the first place. I don't know, I'm kind of rambling, but
Yeah.
I mean, this is why I jumped in even very late, but to this session, because this is something we're dealing with all the time. And even with best intentions, we run in, you know, it doesn't, people don't all walk away happy.
Right, and what you know, an important thing that you're bringing up, Karen, is that there's a genuine interest and commitment on the part of the city to have community members be heard, but then there's competing commitments in terms of time and decisions. And then it sounds also like there's a big assumption here too, that no matter what we do, we're not going to be able to meet the community's needs.
Sometimes, yep.
Right? So I want...
It's a dangerous place to go, because then you start saying, oh, well, whatever, they're never going to be happy kind of thing. And that's a dangerous place to go, yeah.
Right. In the remaining, we have 7 minutes left till 1:30. I would like us to entertain what it would mean to switch places. If you were the hand and you had a person on the other end, wouldn't it be great if the person on the other hand switched places and was able to be in a position to name what they want to create, how to think about community engagement less as we need to get their input than let's use the privilege and power of the city to create opportunities for community members to drive the car the entire way. Teach the skills about fiscal responsibility. Teach them, you know, let everybody go to the Citizens Planning Institute and learn about variances and zoning, or make sure that there's a way that information passes. Because it seems to me that, and in the work that we do at Just Act, relationship is the project. And planning with the community through a community advisory team that's made up of municipal agencies, of the CDC, of the older adult residents and the young people, all together talking and planning and making decisions. And then having the community advisory team be the face of the project and take the time to be in relationship with their neighbors, right? And so that there's an opportunity to counter this rigid adherence to linear time and say that relationship building is not a linear process. Change happens at the speed of trust. And just like think about all of the tension that arises when you're thinking about, oh no, now it's like a year later, the money's here, which wall gets painted and what? great, the money's there, hold it. Or think about how can some of that money go to paying community members to be active ambassadors and stewards of the wall, right? So that it's not about who the person who's going to paint it or who's going to design it, but the urgency is to recognize that the community members are the ones who should be saying, we don't need the wall. What is beyond the wall that we can't yet see? How can we carry this sense of flexibility and nimbleness into unplayful spaces that are bound by colonial structures that have been in place forever, right? That even in the smallest cells of social organization, the couple, the family, the school, the city is getting bigger and bigger. All, the smallest cells of social organization contain all of the morals and principles of oppression that permeate our lives. And so if we spend time recognizing the need to make what has gone invisible for those who are the hand, but constantly visible for those on the other end, if we create a space for productive dialogue that's not about shame or blame, but we play our way to a better democracy, if you will, the dialogue shifts. We need to like switch the question about we must do community engagement and check off the list to like switch the question from what is the value of community engagement, and instead ask what is the cost of not taking the culture, the people, the bodies of who lives in that neighborhood into account and put that first. Everyone can and should be co-creators of their communities. And that means that the city, which isn't going away, which has tremendous privilege and possibility to work with community members in a community-based engagement, which is different than community engagement. Community engagement perpetuates how we have been asking for input. Community-based engagement starts from the very beginning, recognizing that asymmetries have been enacted for way too long. The engagement is based in the community members who should be the ones driving the car and helping the city not fall into the gap of what is expected. So I had you all do the game with the hands as a metaphor for the way in which we have come to practice community engagement. Despite our better wishes, and there is genuine commitment, we are not free because we are full of misconceptions. And seeing our own living contradictions and recognizing how we are products of the system. Okay, now do something with that, right? It's not just about white people waking up. It's about what are the actions, what is the work that has to happen so that the city is not looked at as a benevolent dictator, that a CDC is not looked at as, well, we're not the bad guys because we're here in the community, but they are an arm of the city, right? That the fear that permeates community engagement, that it's not going to work or it's too late, comes from the fact that we've all been breathing in this shape-shifting toxin called oppression. And until we work collectively and see that there's possibility in naming brokenness, then community engagement will continue to replicate the colonial structures that it always has. So here we are at 1:30. As a parting, I would love to have your emails, and I will give you mine. And two, the way that we began with saying our name and making an image and sharing a word of a gift that we bring, I would like us to bid each other goodbye by again saying our name, making a shape with our body, and something that you are going to carry away with you from our time together that will be a part of your work moving forward. What is something that you are thinking about? What are you going to carry away? What are you going to walk away with? Some little thing. What is there a nugget that you are reflecting on right now that you are carrying forward? Michaela, I'm going to have you launch and then remind everybody that then the next thing is to invite.
Thank you, Lisa Jo, for the invitation. Again, Mika, and I leave like this. I also have a tattoo of Pinky Promise over here. I'm leaving today making a pinky promise to community-based engagement and radical transparency and genuine love for the people. Can someone cut it? I shouldn't be cutting it. Someone needs to cut it. You all cut it. Come on, just use your hand and cut the promise. Yes, Gianna, thank you. And I'm gonna invite Gianna to share.
I'm going to take away some more mindfulness, even when I think I'm being like progressive. I guess just like dig a little deeper and see like how I can keep challenging myself to be better. And then I pass this on to Karen.
You muted, Karen.
Sorry, you think I'd have that by now. I'm gonna go with openness to just keep and remember that not to let time and funding always dictate the process or the implementation. Yeah, just to continue to always be asking the question, what does this mean for the people? How the people who are, that this project is intended to benefit, how are they engaged in the project itself? And to ask that not just once, but throughout. And I'll go to Justin.
So I'm thinking about structure and both like what the structures are that result in things being done the way they are now, and how ways those structures could be improved or changed, and also while those structures are in place, how can we still do community engagement, acknowledging each other as human, basically. And I'll invite Joyce.
I want to be more holistic in my thinking, understanding that my perspective is my perspective and it's limited, and also appreciating my capacity what that is, and also always knowing that I always don't know, or there's things that I need to know, and more patience and dealing with the community.
Thank you all for practicing personal and community courage by allowing yourself to play in an unplayful space called Zoom. I put my email and phone number into the chat. I welcome the opportunity to talk to all of you about the work that Just Act has been doing with PACDC since 2017, which I didn't talk about much at all. And it will be wonderful to remain in contact with you all. So thank you so much. I'm going to send out love to all of you. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Take care,
Thanks.
everyone.
Bye, Joyce.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Karen.
Bye.
Kiana.